We expect total fiscal operations of the federal government to result in a deficit of 10.8 trillion naira, considering the need to continue to tackle the existential security challenges facing the country.
On the news tonight, 2023 budget. President Buhari presents Nigeria's spending plans to the National Assembly.
This is the time that NEMA, in its responsibilities over emergency situations like this, would need to step in.
Stemming the tides of flooding tops discussion as President Buhari engages Nigerian Governors Forum.
The Honorable Court agreed with our submission. So the Honorable Court granted them a conditional leave to appeal.
Also tonight, Appeal Court orders ASU to resume work with immediate effect. Hello, good evening. This is NTA Network News. I am Jummai Yusuf. Ingino John Adams joins us from Lagos, and Salamatu Lukman will join us later from Kaduna. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget you can follow this news broadcast live on our website nta.ng/live and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. Begin with the budget as a 20.51 trillion naira budget of fiscal sustainability and transition is proposed for expenditure by the federal government for its services in 2023 fiscal year. The budget, which is the last by the Buhari presidency, is designed to maintain fiscal viability, address critical issues of concern, and lay a solid foundation for the next administration. President Buhari, who presented the appropriations bill before a joint session of the National Assembly, reassured the nation of his unshakable commitment to leaving a legacy of peaceful, prosperous, and secured Nigeria. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
It was not only historic, but simply an emotional sight to behold as President Muhammadu Buhari lays the 2023 appropriations bill before a joint session of the National Assembly for the last time as Commander-in-Chief and leader of democratic Nigeria. The 2023 budget, amongst others, reflects the serious challenges facing Nigeria, key reforms necessary towards addressing them, and the imperatives to achieving higher, more inclusive, diversified, and sustained growth. The 20.51 trillion naira budget is therefore made up of 5.35 trillion naira capital expenditure, 8.27 trillion naira non-debt recurrent cost, 4.99 trillion naira personnel cost, 6.31 trillion naira debt service, 1.11 trillion naira overhead cost, and 744.1 billion naira statutory transfers.
We expect total fiscal operations of the federal government to result in a deficit of 10.8 trillion naira, considering the need to continue to tackle the existential security challenges facing the country. We plan to finance the deficit mainly by new borrowings totaling 8.80 trillion naira, 206.18 billion naira from privatization proceeds, and 1.77 trillion naira drawdowns on bilateral, multilateral loans secured for specific development projects and programs.
And in line with the approved 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, the budget is predicated on an oil price benchmark of $70 per barrel, daily oil production estimate of 1.69 million barrels per day, exchange rate of 435 naira 57 kobo per dollar, a projected GDP growth rate of 3.75%, as well as inflation rate of 17.16%.
I would like to implore the leadership of the National Assembly to ensure that the budget I lay here today, which includes those of the government-owned enterprise, be returned to the presidency when passed. The current practice, where some committees of the National Assembly purport to pass budgets for government-owned enterprises, which are at variance with the budgets sanctioned by me, and communicate such directly to the MDAs, is against the rules and need to stop, please.
Noting with dismay the crisis that has paralyzed activities in Nigeria's public universities, the president said he expects from the staff better appreciation of the current state of affairs in the country.
The determined effort to resolve the issue, we have provided a total of 470 billion naira in the 2023 budget from our constrained resources for revitalization and salary enhancements in the tertiary institutions. The government remains committed to the implementation of agreements reached with staff union within available resources. This is why we have remained resolute that we will not sign any agreement that we would be unable to implement.
President Buhari also promised sustained efforts at boosting food production and distribution towards bringing down the high food prices, positioning the manufacturing sector to generate more foreign exchange, as well as securing lives, property, and investments across Nigeria.
Mr. Senate President, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude my address today by again expressing my deep appreciation for your enormous support, patriotic zeal, and cooperation in our efforts to accelerate the socio-economic development of our country and improve the lives of our people.
The 2023 budget proposal, the president said, is a product of interagency collaboration, extensive stakeholder consultations, and productive engagements. He therefore appreciated the media, the organized private sector, civil society organizations, and the nation's development partners for their contributions. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The leadership of the Senate and the House of Representatives are unanimous in their call on the federal government to focus on completion of legacy projects in 2023. It was when President Muhammadu Buhari submitted the 2023 draft budget for consideration and approval during a joint session of the National Assembly. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
It is the last budget of the Buhari administration submitted to the last joint session of the 9th National Assembly. What was poignant at this historic moment is the promise by the leadership of the 9th National Assembly of sustaining the January to December budget cycle by early passage, an action that has become a trademark of the 9th Assembly since Nigeria's return to democracy. Beyond the formalities of efficiency, the President of the Senate and Speaker House of Representatives struck a chord when they mentioned oil theft and its devastation to the economy.
The large-scale and massive stealing of our oil is concerning, as this reduces drastically the revenues available to the government. Projections have put our losses from this melee at between 700,000 to 900,000 barrels of crude oil per day, leading to about 29 to 35% losses in oil revenue in the first quarter of 2022. This represents an estimated total fall from 1.1 trillion naira recorded in the last quarter of 2021 to 790 billion naira in the first quarter of this year. arising from the reports of a massive decline in the volume of crude oil exports due primarily to theft and diversion by criminal elements. It is the sense of the House of Representatives that those engaged in these activities are agents of economic sabotage, determined to bring our country to its knees. Therefore, our position is that their actions constitute treason against our country, for which they and their enablers, whoever they may be, must be held accountable to the fullest extent permitted by law.
They also shared in the vision of the current administration in its drive for reform in key sectors of the economy to improve service delivery to the people.
Pushing for concerted efforts toward ridding our nation of criminals, the National Assembly will continue to support the executive arm of government in finding permanent solutions to insecurity in our country. Let me at this point commend our defense and security forces for working harder. There is still some work to be done though.
We are once more reminded of the finite nature of public service and the obligation to make the most of our time to deliver on our promises to the Nigerian people. It is often said that it's not how well you start, but how strong you finish.
The Senate and House of Representatives will in the next couple of days commence consideration of the 2023 budget of sustainability and transition meant to lay solid foundation for incoming administration. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in the National Assembly have been speaking on the general principles of the 2023 appropriation as presented by President Muhammadu Buhari to the joint session of the National Assembly. Dayo Ogunshola captured their reactions after the presentation.
Completion of the legacy projects for sustainable development forms the fulcrum of the budget of physical sustainability and transition presented to the National Assembly. The cross-section of lawmakers say they are looking forward to doing justice to the document in line with the provisions of the law.
We will give you answers when we unveil, when we open that box, when we see what is in there. So we will give you the answers. But for now, there's no government in the history of this country that has invested so much in infrastructure. The government has done very well. It has performed in a manner that we need to commend it.
We are going to consider what he wants to do, and we'll make sure he completed these projects before May 29, 2023.
We should begin to work effectively to make sure that we track all our funds. And as they come to defend their projects, they should also come with their documents and proof.
Of importance to others are the specifics as they affect the nation.
They must come back and tell us how they are going to provide revenue. Improve the revenue base of this nation. Stop oil theft for starters. Of course, before you start talking about the GOEs who are not remitting their monies, before you start talking about waivers.
As National Assembly, we take into consideration all tendencies, okay? And then see areas that we can still possibly make sure that our teachers, the lecturers, are very comfortable.
The national budget presentation since 2019 till date had constantly been coming to the National Assembly in October and passed in record times. This, the lawmakers expressed readiness to sustain. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
And in the studio to shed more light on the 2023 budget presented to the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari is Ni Akinsuju, is a financial and investment analyst. We'll get to talk to him, but right after this break. Don't go away.
What is sound when you wake up one day and there's no country? Only chaos, confusion, bloodshed. No. We must stand for our nation. We must also stand for the armed forces. Our prayers, our validation of their efforts is what they need, which we must strive to give them as patriotic citizens. Together, we are stronger. One nation, one armed forces, one people, our Nigeria.
They say nothing good comes easy, but with determination and sheer focus, Boa Foods finds new ways to put food on many plates. We produce competitively priced sugar, flour and pasta that are highly sought after by our corporate and trade partners. At Boa Foods, we remain committed to lead with purpose and make a difference by embracing the responsibility to meet Africa's growing food demand. We dare to lead, so can you. Boa Foods, nourishing lives.
Kids, grown-ups, it doesn't matter. Have a cup of peak chocolate anytime and enjoy the delicious nourishment of chocolatey goodness. Peak. Reach for your peak.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Muhammad, welcomes President and Heads of Government, the UNESCO Director General, Ms. Audrey Azoula, and other UN officials, foreign ministers, ambassadors, international dignitaries, and members of the Federal Executive Council to the UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week 2022 with the theme, Nurturing Trust, a Media and Information Literacy Imperative. Date, 24th to 31st October 2022. Opening session, 24th October 2022 at the Banquet Hall, Presidential Villa, Abuja. Time, 3 p.m. The other sessions of the Global Media and Information Literacy Week 2022 will take place at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Announcer.
You're welcome back, and my guest Ni Akinsuju is a financial and investment analyst, actually a regular on Network News. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's an emotional, moment at the National Assembly, while watching it, and they were able to give each other a pat in the back, both the executive and the National Assembly, for bringing back the budget cycle from January to December. Now we have a budget of 20.57 trillion naira. This is the highest in the history of this country. Let's have your take on that.
Yeah, obviously in terms of size, this is the largest, and of course it is also, like the president said, it's also a reflection of the challenges that we are being confronted with in the economic space presently. I think more importantly is the fact that it's foundational and transitional at the same time, and that for me is impressive. It's impressive because when you compare the size of this budget and those issues it's put together to address to what another transitional budget was in 2015. You realize that there's a conscious effort to actually create a foundation for the incoming government. Either the same party that the president belongs to or the opposition party, but there is a conscious focus on creating the foundation. Because what we've had all this while since 2015, not even since 2015, perhaps since 1999, is a lack of theme, economic theme, and economic fiscal direction on what the whole economic ecosystem, the Nigerian economic ecosystem should be, And for me, as an observer of the economy, as it were, I can see a particular direction. Though we may not be talking about particular ideology, but I can say a particular direction. Either in terms of the size of the budget, as I said, in 2015, the size of the budget was about $22 billion. That's the equivalent of $22 billion at 4.5 trillion, And you expect, that the a transitional fund, a transitional budget should actually carry over all the values of budgets that we've been having before then. In 2014, it was 4.9, and then it fell to 4.5. Then, of course, we went to a recession thereafter. The president spoke about it. We went into a recession thereafter. Though that recession had been prepared, more or less, for the incoming government, as it were. So when you have a small budget, perhaps the only thing you can do is to start increasing the size of that budget, through what they call, what the president rightly called spending ourselves, out of the recession. Now we have a 20.5 trillion naira budget. It talks to the fact that the president wants to continue in the line of providing infrastructure, of attending to the very poor. Don't forget that by 2015 we had about 110 million Nigerians who were living under below the poverty line. And of course we had issues with food security. We were importing more than $5 billion worth of food every year, and of course we had no earnings to support that. And more than that, our major dependent resources, crude oil. We were owing joint venture partners more than $5 billion in our joint venture cash call. And again, perhaps the how do I call it, the biggest headache.
Sustainability and transition is a key word in the 2023 budget, and the National Assembly has emphasized on the need to complete ongoing projects, which this government has been doing since they came on board 7+ years ago. All the project left by the previous administration has been completed by this administration itself. Now let's look at how this budget will address the other critical areas that Nigeria is facing now.
We already had the president announce a 470 billion naira allocation to address the issue of ASU strike, developments in the project development in the university, specifically university, and that of course there is issue with ASU strike, but 7 months strike, university students, I like to also correct that, not students, university students have been at home. Now the president is conscious of that. ASU is asking for 1.2 trillion. The president had talked about issues of scarcity of resources, and that to a large extent we are going to provide this 470 billion. I think that is very correct. That is a right approach. Is a way of negotiating. We are giving you something. Issue of food security. The president talked about food security. Yes, global headwinds in the agricultural sector. The Ukraine-Russian war has a serious spillover effect across the world, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, is impacting us. Food prices have gone up, and the president acknowledged it, for which I appreciate. There was no political, insinuation. There are no political nuances in this presentation. Food prices had gone up. The rice that we're buying at less than 300 naira per mudu is about 800 naira now. I go to the market, and that is true. But again, perhaps we would have been buying that mudu at about 3,000 now if we had not had an anchor borers program that had boosted our rice production. If we were importing rice, now that India had increased the price of rice, and had also even put a limitation to what quantity can be imported.
Yes, indeed. The president also addressed the issue of the debt profile, saying that it's within the limits itself because compared to other countries. And tell me, we'll be able to meet our debt payment with services itself. So tell me, Nigerians are worried actually. Tell me, how can we be able to conform to how things should be done, like it's done in other countries? Pay tax, get what you want.
Well, we evolve into that. the reality is that we are actually evolving into it. You can see the relationship between the oil sector, the earnings from oil sector, and the non-oil sector historically. Historically, earnings from the oil sector used to constitute about 80% of our budget every year. But I think that changed since 2021. It fell to about 35% of the budget, and we had non-oil sector for the first time beat earnings from the oil sector
Creative industry,
for the first time since 1973. For me, that is a major achievement by this government, because it has been the high point of advocacy. Let us diversify our income, So this government has been able to achieve that. Yes, we are having issues with oil theft and all that, but you can only now imagine if we had not had a boost in the non-oil sector, and we had to also now contend with this stealing in the oil sector, and we are now left with less than 2 trillion, to run an economy as it were. You can only imagine the outcome.
And the president also, made a reference to a reformed public sector, handing over a reformed public sector. Briefly, let's talk about that.
That should be the trust. That should be the trust of any government, because the public sector is at the heart of policy making, and policy implementation. And of course, you need a focused, professional, public sector to be able to deliver on this, as it were.
Okay, Nia Kisiju, financial and investment analyst, thank you so much for coming on Network News and giving me also insight into the 2023 budget.
My pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
Now, there are strong indications that the industrial impasse between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, will soon be resolved. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, dropped this hint while speaking to correspondent Adobo Sambo after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari. The Speaker was accompanied to the State House by Deputy Speaker Idris Wasi and the House Leader Al-Hassan Ado Dogwa. The high-level talks with the President over the prolonged strike by ASU was the second in 4 days. The House leadership last Tuesday submitted to the Nigerian leader recommendations from its strategic engagement with relevant stakeholders over the crisis in the universities, which he promised to critically analyze for possible consideration. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila described the latest engagement with the President as most fruitful.
We had, once again, very fruitful, good discussions with Mr. President on the pending issue. You will hear directly from the President, but suffice to say that we had a very good meeting.
What was the assurance to Nigerians?
The assurance that we've met with the President, we've discussed. It was a positive meeting, and the leader here is telling me very positive. I think Nigerians will hear directly from Mr. President himself. We all look forward to it, but we had a good meeting.
The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has ordered striking members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities to resume work immediately. The three-man panel of justices headed by Justice Barka Hamad gave the order in Abuja while ruling on the 2 applications of ASU brought before the court. Our judiciary correspondent, Dele Atumbi, has the report.
In this matter, the Academic Staff Union of Universities is the appellant, while the federal government and one other are the respondents. ASU has approached the Court of Appeal with 2 applications. The first was the stay of execution of the ruling of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, which ordered ASU members to resume academic work pending the determination of the substantive suit brought against it by the federal government. The second application of ASU is the leave of court to appeal the interlocutory ruling of the National Industrial Court in Abuja, which ordered the immediate resumption of work by ASU members in line with Section 243 of the Constitution. On its part, the federal government and one other opposed the 2 applications that the supposed appellant, which is ASU, is in disobedience of the subsisting court order. The 3-man panel of justices, led by Justice Barka Hamad, granted the prayer of ASU. However, the court frowned at the manner where litigants disobey court orders. It ordered members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities to resume immediately. Their resumption of work is a condition precedent for ASU to appeal the ruling.
The Honorable Court agreed with our submission. So the Honorable Court granted them a conditional leave to appeal, provided today they must obey the order of the National Industrial Court.
In all, we will advise our clients appropriately and the right thing will be done, I can assure you.
ASU has 7 days to file its appeal at the National Industrial Court, which will transmit it to the Court of Appeal. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Now let's bring you up to speed with other news making the rounds. President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria will leverage available technologies towards exploring and exporting the abundant and strategic resource potential abound in its seabed for enhanced economic well-being. The president stated this while playing host to the Secretary General of the International Seabed Authority, Michael Lange. State House correspondent Adam Musambu has a report.
The Secretary General of the International Seabed Authority, Michael Lodge, is in Abuja to participate in a workshop on Africa's Deep Sea Resources Project. It is aimed at raising awareness amongst African states about the importance and opportunities associated with the development of Africa's continental shelf.
I would like to encourage Nigeria to consider going to the international seabed to explore the potential for deep seabed mineral resources as a very important future resource and something that can offer great potential to support the blue economy.
President Buhari thanked the International Seabed Authority for granting Nigeria the right to host the workshop, which he said will be effectively utilized towards increasing the country's participation in exploration activities in the international seabed areas.
Technology, I think, is proving there are strategic minerals down there useful in the future, especially for developing countries around that area where such minerals have already been discovered.
The president used the occasion to applaud the Nigerian Navy for protecting and jealously guarding the nation's maritime domain. The Secretary General of the International Seabed Authority was led to the State House by Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyama. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has promised federal government's intervention towards mitigating the impact of flooding now wreaking havoc in parts of the country. This was while granting audience to a delegation of the Nigeria Governors Forum. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu tells us more.
Nigeria Governors Forum delegation led by the outgoing chairman and governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, had told the president that the magnitude of the disaster caused by this year's flooding in parts of the country is beyond the capacity of the affected states. They explained that several lives were lost and valuable property, including homes as well as farmlands, washed away.
We feel this is the time that NEMA, in its responsibilities over emergency situations like this, would need to step in, and that some special intervention funding may need to be released, Mr. President, to help assuage the challenges that our people are going through.
This flooding incident and the effect on food production is coming at a time also when the Central Bank of Nigeria has been reviewing its books and it has been squeezing credit across the sector. But maybe that is one area that we can appeal for direct intervention.
There is the need for the government of the Republic of Nigeria under able leadership to really come up with yet another plan on how to support dry season farming in order to avert looming food crisis.
President Buhari, who described the situation as worrisome and disturbing, asked the governors to meet with the Minister of Water Resources, ascertain the extent of damages suffered, and fashion out effective solution strategies.
I recommend you should have a governors forum meeting and hear from individual states the details of the problem so that you can discuss it then with the Minister of Water Resources and perhaps Agriculture, and then you will let me know what I should do.
The outgoing chairman of the forum, Kayode Fayemi, who finishes his tenure as governor of Ekiti State in 9 days, used the opportunity to introduce Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal of Sokoto State and Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State as co-chairman of the Governors Forum interim leadership.
So they'll be piloting the affairs of the Nigerian Governors Forum till we hold our election in May 2023. But it would be remiss of me to do this without also expressing immense gratitude, Mr. President. You've accorded us due regard. You have assisted us in numerous ways. You've listened to us and generally superintending over the affairs of our country in a manner that we all have a lot to thank you for. Security, as we can see, is improving by the minute.
Governor Tambuwal is chairman, PDP Governors Forum, while Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State leads the Progressives Governors Forum. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Owing to the flooding around Kotankarfi in Lokoja, Kogi State, which has impeded the free flow of traffic on the Lokoja-Abuja Expressway for the last 3 days, the Federal Road Safety Corps is advising motorists traveling to the southwest region of the country through Lokoja to kindly take the Suleja, Bidda, Mokwa Road, while those traveling to the south-southeast regions through same town are also advised to go through Nasara, Oweto Bridge, Adoka, Otuko axis. This is due to the fact that the water level may take another 2 days or more to subside. Now, the federal government has declared Monday, 10th October 2023 as public holiday to mark this year's Eid al-Mawlid celebration in commemoration of the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola, on behalf of the federal government, congratulates all Muslims both at home and in the diaspora for witnessing this year's occasion. He admonishes all Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of love, patience, tolerance and perseverance, which are spiritual virtues the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, exemplified. The minister wishes all Muslims a happy celebration and Nigerians a happy holiday. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has urged Muslims to practice the noble and shining virtues of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saying that the best way to honor him is to follow his good examples. In his goodwill message to Muslims on the occasions of Maulud to celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, the President explained that the Prophet became famous for his humility, justice and fairness. In a statement by Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President called on Nigerians to join the government's effort at eradicating insecurity and corruption, also urging politicians to be temperate in their conduct during this period of electioneering campaign. Upholding competence and the country above ethnic and religious affiliation will propel social justice, inclusiveness and accountability needed for Nigeria to improve on its social cohesion status. This is the thrust of Nigeria's social cohesion dialogue held in Abuja. Joseph Osen reports.
A survey conducted by the Africa Polling Institute indicates Nigeria's social cohesion index has declined from 44% in 2021 to 39% in 2022. Key indicators show that many citizens lack sense of patriotism. However, a significant number, at 60%, still believe the country has a chance for a brighter future.
Nigerians believe that Nigeria will be better, that all we need to do is to give an additional push, and people should begin to think of Nigeria before thinking of their ethnic or religious groups.
Women and children are not discussant at this social cohesion dialogue are of the view that social cohesion in Nigeria can only be achieved when Nigerians work towards national identity.
If we don't have a society that is cohesive, where we all pull together, we feel valued, we feel a sense of belonging, then all the efforts that the government or all of us are making for what we consider to be progress is actually then built on nothingness.
Data for planning, data for decision making is very important. And so far in the past few years, we have helped to bridge the gap in citizens' data.
Insecurity and dwindling economy are reported to be key drivers of the decline in social cohesion. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Time now to join Hingino in Lagos for more on network news. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Jumwe, and welcome to Lagos. At the peak of the fight against COVID-19, a vaccine was discovered by the developed world. When developing countries like Nigeria eagerly awaited consignments of the vaccine nationalism became the trend which led to hoarding. This indeed calls for local production of vaccines against various ailments. Correspondent in this report takes a look at Nigeria's vaccine production journey from pre-independence till date. Nigeria favorably competed among vaccine-producing countries for about 6 decades, spanning from pre to post-independence. Precisely, between 1940 and 1991, Nigeria produced large quantities of vaccines against smallpox, rabies, and yellow fever, not only for local consumption, but export to some African countries. Though the country still produces veterinary vaccines, sadly, the human vaccine production stopped in 1991.
The basic factor was decline in funding and, of course, brain drain. As at that time up to now, Nigeria did not have adequate number of vaccinologists or those well trained in the vaccine biotechnology to produce. So the few that were trained left the shores of this country.
In an effort to revive production, BioVaccine Nigeria Limited, a partnership, was incorporated in 2005 by the federal government. This, however, did not yield expected results. Just recently, the federal government revealed a collaboration between BioVaccine Nigeria Limited and Serum Institute of India to establish a vaccine manufacturing plant in Ota, Ogun State.
The government now has approved 15% of the vaccines that UNICEF normally supplies us for BioVaccine to supply.
Another good news is that the nation's Apex Medical Research Institute is also working towards vaccine designing, development, and production.
No, there are 5 of government agencies that have come together in a consortium. 2 universities, the University of Jos, Usman Danfodio University, the National Veterinary Research Institute, Nigerian School of Medical Research, and of course, NEPRI. They are into nanotechnology, and they are in the plan so they could provide carrier for whatever vaccines that we are able to develop.
What NIMA has been doing is to develop a template for the peptide-based subunit vaccine, which we did. And not a vaccine, it was a candidate which we worked on, and we noticed it did not elicit sufficient immune response. So we didn't see sufficient body soldiers coming up. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and we are still developing.
Now that efforts are on to actualize vaccine production in the country, Nigerians may not have to worry about vaccine nationalism in case of any pandemic. Nigerians who participated in the 2022 Mandela Washington Fellowship in the United States of America have been challenged to work to explore how they can enhance their community service and impact on Nigeria. The Public Affairs Officer, United States Consul General, Lagos, gave the charge during a reunion conference in honor of the participants in Lagos.
These are young Nigerians. They participated in the 2022 Mandela Washington Fellowship. They all have one thing in common: to review their experiences during their training in the United States of America. The Public Affairs Officer, U.S. Consulate General, Lagos, explained that the program is of great significance in the sense that the fellows get acquainted with U.S. modus operandi in the specific areas they are working on and can develop on their own goals.
The most important thing is that they bring back those skills, that knowledge to Nigeria, and they help play a positive role in Nigeria's economic development.
We are trying to connect them to each other, to other Mandela Washington Fellows across the continent, but also across Nigeria, to create these networks that work together to, support their projects and move Nigeria forward.
56 Nigerians were among the 700 young leaders from sub-Saharan Africa who completed a 6-week intensive academic and leadership program at some of the most prestigious U.S. colleges and universities. The aim is to replicate what they learned back home.
It has actually improved my skill set also when it comes to networking, collaboration, and what I do at Feeding Nigeria also.
Learning how the US has created that environment was key for me. So it gave me that sort of zeal, motivation to come put some of these things into practice.
I learned mostly in US is how to structure NGOs, and that's something I'm already implementing and applying here. And I also learned much about grant writing.
The Mandela Washington Fellowship began in 2014, and the U.S. government has sent nearly 4,000 young African leaders to the U.S. to empower them through academic coursework, leadership training, and networking opportunities. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
Time for another break. Salamatu is standing by in our Kaduna studio to take the news from that zone. But before then, do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates.
It's been a long day, and nothing could feel better than sleeping comfortably. So relax. You won't be bothered by leakage or irritation tonight. Huggies Dry Comfort has a super fast dry layer that quickly absorbs wetness for all night dryness and comfort. So baby can wake up comfy and dry as the night before. And you keep doing great, Mom.
Now in a new look pack.
Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with Germ Defense gives you protection. Rainy season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's Germ Defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Introducing the Nigerian Marketing Awards. Celebrating marketing excellence in Nigeria on Friday, 11 November 2022 at the Eko Convention Center. Visit our website at www.mma-ng.com for more information. Entry closes September 30, 2022.
Thanks for staying tuned and welcome to Kaduna on Network News. Federal government is providing more infrastructure and state-of-the-art facilities to the Nigerian police as part of the ongoing efforts to enhance security of lives and property, especially in rural communities. Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba said this while inaugurating Divisional Police Office at Birnin Yero Village in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. Achari Maxwell reports.
The establishment of Nigerian police outposts in parts of Kaduna State is as a result of security challenges bedeviling the state. This prompted the intervention of the federal government in providing model police outposts in Birnin Yero, Zangon Aya Makarfi to improve security situation in the areas. In Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba noted with satisfaction level of improvement in security situation, especially communities affected by banditry and kidnapping.
And I urge them to also increase the number of personnel by having volunteers who are community policing officers who will be assisting the police in crime prevention and control, especially those who have local means of livelihood, and at the same time they have the time and energy to spare in maintaining law and order in their community. So,
the Inspector General of Police also inaugurated, rehabilitated and upgraded facilities at the Police Training College, Kaduna. Usman Alkali Baba believes in providing conducive environment for training of officers and men of the Nigerian police. At an interactive session with police personnel, he urged them to shun tendencies inimical to the corporate image of the Nigerian police. In Kaduna, Achari Maxwell, NTA News.
The Nigerian Television Authority has been identified as the most reliable and authentic, which place national interest above other considerations. Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruan, said this at the closing of a two-day training for reporters and presenters of the Nigerian Television Authority held in Kaduna. Let's hear more from Haruna Muhammad.
The two-day workshop drew participants from NTA stations in the Northwest with seasoned television journalists as resource persons. They include a renowned sport commentator and administrator Mainasar Illo, former general manager NTA International, and sport analyst Abdurrahman Ibn Muhammad, the general manager New Age Network Kaduna, Yunusa Aliu, and Mr. Christopher from Integrated Television Services, JUS. They dwelt on the need for participants to take advantage of technology in taking NTA to the next level.
The workshop is coming from the need to sharpen perspectives and deepen understanding on what reporters should do on the job and how they should enhance the quality of their stories.
The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruan, noted with satisfaction the role of NTA in building confidence among Nigerians despite security challenges.
We must have it in the back of our mind that we have a responsibility to build a stable and a nation where people will live together in peace and harmony.
Participants were grateful to NTA top management for organizing the training program. Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
And that completes our package. From here is back to Jumai in Abuja. It's back to Jumai.
Good morning, Nigeria. Year after year, they have been informed, educated, and entertained on when you needed information, knowledge, or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now,
this service will finally be recognized.
Right? This November, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards, an award ceremony set to reward hard work and unflinching excellence in the broadcast media. They have served and are still serving. It's time. Good morning, Nigeria. Year after year, they have been informed, educated, and entertained on when you needed information, knowledge, or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now,
this service will finally be recognized.
Right? This November, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards, an award ceremony set to reward hard work and unflinching excellence in the broadcast media. They have served and are still serving. It's time to say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON. For more details, log on to www.tnawards.ng and follow social media handles at TNB Awards.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent. and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Let's join Austin Idemadu for sports updates.
Football analysts have challenged the Super Eagles of Nigeria to show more intensity and character as they play Los Ticos of Costa Rica in an international friendly in November.
They want to see more consistent Super Eagles coming to the ranks to play these friendly matches.
The Costa Rican national team will host three-time African champions in their capital city, San Jose, on November 9th. Still on football, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has promised players of Rivers United cash prize of $40,000 each should they overcome their North African counterparts, Wydad Casablanca, to the group stages of the 2022-23 CAF Champions League. Another Nigerian club side, Plateau United, will lock horns with Esperance of Tunisia on Sunday at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, while Kwara United will be in action against visiting RS Fekano of Morocco in the CAF Confederations Cup on Sunday. The English Premier League returns this weekend with lunchtime kickoff between Newcastle United and Brentford on Saturday. Sunday, there will be a battle of the Titans between table toppers Arsenal and Liverpool. The match between high-flying Manchester City and Southampton will be live on NTA on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. The governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, has awarded our daughter of the state and World and Commonwealth Women's 100 meters hurdles champion Tobi Amusan for her standing performances.
We want to use you as a point of contact for all our youths who have lost faith in what hard work, resilience, persistence, faith.
To represent every girl child out there, to let them know that anything is possible.
Recall that Governor Abiodun had on April 2021 adopted Tobi Amusan through the Adopt an Athlete initiative. With sports update, I'm Austin Idemadu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari expresses the deepest condolence to Senator Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, following the demise of his older brother, Alhaji Bappa Mohammed. President Buhari describes death as a sad loss of a man with a mission and vision who epitomized kindness. And that's it on the news tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I am Jumwe Yusuf. Do step up, be a star, and join NTA in the fight against rape and rapists. Good night.
Thank you.